More importantly, given that it is 4 days from now where the women across the globe will be marking the International Women's Day, which is marked as always on March 8th of every year, is a global day of celebrating the socio-economic, cultural and political achievement of women across not just this nation but across the globe as well. That will be our discussion for the first hour. In this second hour, we'll be focusing on the various proposals that are being currently made before the National Assembly from the various ministries and state agencies in regards to the 2025-2026 budget, and of course which areas are they looking to finance in the current financial year. And also we'll be winding up on the 2027 succession politics, given that you have seen the ODM leader Raila Odinga crisscrossing the country just to seek the views of his members as well as supporters in terms of which side he will support. Will it be Kenya Kwanza or Azimio la Umoja One coalition at the end of the day? But also we're keeping an eye on various events that are currently happening across the country. Also, we are talking about the invitation to attend that was issued to media houses in terms of the media sensitization workshop on women on cancer. And of course, this is a very vital topic where the Ministry of Health will be doing a sensitization with the various agencies as well as media operations. You can see there on my right, you do know that breast and cervical cancer are the leading cancers in Kenya, contributing to 29.3% of all new cancer cases, and of course cases related to morality and improve women's health outcomes. Kenya is implementing a 3-year women's integrating cancer, and of course these are some of the challenges that we will be talking about. But let's listen in to that particular media sensitization exercise that is currently happening here in the capital.
It's something we would want you to highlight going forward, to keep tabs on, and as you have been told, it's a pilot, it's a small project. It is only in 2 counties, but that is how we begin. We begin small and then we grow from there. And it has big plans, even though it is only in 2 counties. Because early detection and screening and linkage to treatment, while also considering the mental and holistic well-being of women. So, onto the role of media and the goals of this workshop. They are a powerful role in shaping public perception and influencing health-seeking behavior through responsible and accurate reporting, combat misinformation, promote essential interventions like HPV vaccination, regular screening, treatment. You can also inform the populace on where these services are available. They can get that information. There is something what we talked about another time in another activity, that instead of waiting for people, these misconceptions and misinformation to come up, we need not just them but to pre-bank them. And this is our to equip you with the right information so that we can pre-bank the needs. So today's workshop aims to build your capacity for accurate reporting and to foster strong partnerships between us in the health sector and you, and to provide you with resources to support cancer awareness efforts. You have seen the program that we have, and there is scan the QR code for the program.
I do apologize for that technical glitch. It is a sensitization workshop that is currently happening in the capital on women on cancers, given that the ministry, in collaboration with various state agencies and stakeholders in that particular sector, are seeking to reduce cancer-related mortality and improve women's health outcomes with implementing a 3-year women's integrated cancer project in line with the National Cancer Control Strategy and the World Health Organization global initiatives for cervical cancer elimination and breast cancer care. And of course, we'll be informing you in our subsequent bulletins in regard to that. Also ties into what we'll be discussing on the first hour when it comes to the milestones or other challenges that are facing women across this particular nation and across the globe. Let's come back here to the studio and introduce you my guest right now. Joining us is Dr. Caroline Wangeshi. She is the founder of Visionary Apostolic Awakening Network International. International. Daktari, welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
And of course, also will be joined by none other than Honorable Catherine Omanyo, MP for Busia County, and Rahab Muya, the National Chairperson, Maendeleo ya Wanawake. Daktari, given that you, of course, came here first, let me start with you. What can you tell us, given that you could just heard from the various stakeholders there carrying out a sensitization for the media? Yes. You know, breast cancer has been among the challenges facing women in this country. Yes. Where are we going wrong in addressing that particular issue?
First of all, I want to appreciate you for having me in studio today, and it's a great honor. Thank you very much. So you realize that these results too, they have been caused by the food, the kind of food that we are eating. You realize that the food that we have right now in the market has a lot of chemical induced in them, and also the way that women are eating their food, because breast cancer is not only for women. Even men are involved, they are infected by it. But you realize it's mostly because of the health, or the kind of food they're eating, and the atmosphere that they're exposed to. Yeah.
And of course, you see the media, the Ministry of Health carrying out that particular sensitization. What would you like, given that you're a leader in this particular country, what would you like the Ministry of Health to do so that they can curb such cases, especially in the country?
Yeah, basically what my thoughts and what I would like to suggest is that women, both women and men, should be informed, should be advised, and should be trained about how to monitor their bodies. And because when cancer is noticed early, it is quickly treatable. But you realize that the disease grows and becomes up to stage 3, becomes up to stage 4 when someone is dying, when it has eaten up the whole part of the body. That's when, and that time you realize it's very expensive to treat it. The radiotherapy, the chemotherapy, it is very expensive. So what I recommend is that people should be trained. How do you check your body? Yeah, and also what kind of foods should you avoid? What kind of foods should you eat? Yeah, like you realize nowadays even the farmers are mostly advised how to use the organic fertilizers more than moving away from the CAN and all that kind of fertilizers. Yes.
And of course, Daktari, thank you, of course, for enlightening us. That was the media sensitization that was being carried out here in the capital, where the Ministry of Health is leading that particular initiative in terms of addressing cancer among women, especially breast cancer. Addressing those particular issues ties into what we'll be discussing in the first hour in terms of the International Women's Day that is currently 4 days away. We're looking at some of the challenges, some of the milestones that have been made in the sector. You do know that this year is always celebrated on the March of 8th every year. It is a global celebration for socio-economic, cultural and political achievement of women across this country and across the globe. Of course, joining us once she's mic'd, that will be Honorable Catherine Omanyo, the MP of Busia County. Let me go back to Daktari. Daktari, before we go to the challenges, what are some of the key milestones that women have made in this country?
Wow. First of all, I would like to commend every woman that is coming out. Yeah, you've realized that in the recent past, let's say like in the last 10 to 15 years, women have come out. And not only in the leadership, but in terms of the political arena, even in different areas to do with the organizations. You see people, the women are coming out, they are believing in themselves, and they are taking up roles that before used to be considered as men-oriented kind of tasks. But right now you find that women are believing themselves, because being a woman does not show that you are less. Being a woman does not let you discover that you are less than a man. But above all, I'm very, very happy to see women coming out, women speaking out, and even making impact in the community.
And Daktari, there's a living proof next to you. That is Mheshimiwa Catherine Omanyo, the MP of Busia County. Mheshimiwa, thank you for joining us this morning. Maybe just enlighten the young girls who want to become MPs. How did you get here as a woman?
I spoke about it to myself first. I prepared. I dared. Mostly, when you're still at campus, joining some of these events and looking for who is who. And starting from your own village, it's important. There are people who want to be leaders, but even their village elders don't know them. So you have to know who is who in the society and start with who is available. If you target to want to see Baba, Raila, sometimes it can take longer. But so you start with maybe who is the chairman of ODM if you want to join politics in your area. Let them know you well. They start talking, and not just talking theory way, pragmatically, what are you doing for the party or that institution you want to join? You know, I would introduce myself as future president, make everybody stop and look, who's that? And some would laugh, some doubt. But I consistently kept on preaching my own gospel, my vision, my mission, my objective. Actual funeral attender at some point. Just going there to mourn with the families and also want to talk. Many times I would be denied. A few times I've grabbed mics to also talk, even if I said something. So many young people, I know they'll be judged, especially when they're single. Joining politics, you automatically become a prostitute, a headstrong, an abomination to some people, an embarrassment. All those things are just said to scare your vision away. And when you're single, again, people see you as somebody who's not reliable. They prefer a married, settled woman. More mature, not young. I actually plunged myself into politics at 25 years. I used to work with Orie Rogo Manduli, the late.
Yes.
And those days I would really look at her, how she talks, how she stands, how she just dares anyone. Sometimes with big English, you know, it scares away many people. Sometimes dressing, you know, she would pull the scarf and I would do it for her. Just to make a statement before you even talk. And many other people have dragged my feet along the way, because there are periods when you are on the valley and other places where you are on the mountain. When you are low, who is there with you? You know, there are people who can kill that dream completely. But others can say you've come along the way, all the scars you have, some unseen, some seen, and you want to give up, you know. So yes, to be young is good, but young doing what? To be a woman is even better, but how do you position yourself as well as a woman? Whenever I stand in front of people, even at that age, 25 years, I never stood as a young woman. I stood in front of people as a leader, not a woman. And that helped me so much not to remember all the time that I already have a baggage with me. Because we will go to school, yes, and we have gone to school, yes, but badly cultured people, men and women, still believe in men leadership. They do not believe in women leadership. Some of our tribes, unfortunately, how they describe a woman is so abusive and discriminative. Like they can say a woman cannot sit on me. In my own language, it's very bad. Meaning, those days kings, if they lacked a podium, a stage to stand tall, masculine men, young people would carry them up. So they're asking you in your skirt, you want us to carry you up, you know, that's what they are trying to say. So a woman cannot sit on me has various meanings. It means also you are intimidating the man in the house. It shouldn't be seen that way. Yeah, in fact, civilized men are taking it positive. Sometimes I see on comments how some men say things about me, so encouraging. But some still feel intimidated.
Okay.
Yes.
And of course, Dr. you've just listened to Mheshimiwa. She's raising pertinent questions. So is it a mindset or is it a cultural norm that we're used to women behind men?
Well, basically, it's more of a cultural, because usually men are portrayed to be the head and the woman below the head, like the neck. So you see, with what is happening lately, with the education, with the exposure, you can find that a woman is well exposed and she's able to handle certain pertinent issues in the community. And at that time, she's able to fill in the gap. That even the man who maybe is a leader at that time is not able to address such issues. And so, right now, it's more about what solution are you bringing. It's not about the gender. It's not about whether you are a woman or you are a man. But if you have the solution on the ground, the solution of the people, you are able to make people comfortable at a situation where they are not comfortable, then you are the leader that is required. Because when you choose, if it is a man, and you position that man there, and that man is not able to bring in the solution, or maybe the networks that are required to bring in a certain development in a community, it becomes challenging. So yes, it's been there that men should lead, that men should be on the forefront. And it is very okay, because we also see men that are embracing women and they are encouraging them, that push on, you can do this. Like I remember when we were being raised by my father, I was the firstborn and the 3 boys were after me. He raised me like a man. He used to tell me, you know, these boys are after, you have to show them the right way. If it is going to slash grass, all of us are with slashers to slash. So that you find that that man taught me that I can do even what my brothers are doing. Yeah. So the moment you push the woman, the girl child down there at the early stage, then you realize that that girl will always be, they are not able to blow up. They are not able to become what their spirit, because in the spirit world, because I'm an apostle, you realize that there's no gender. The spirit is a spirit. So whatever that is in the spirit of that body, which is a woman, should come out and be able to do what it is supposed to do in the atmosphere. Yes.
And of course, Moshimo, you clearly stated that, which is happening in many cultural places, especially here in our country. Why does a woman have to go to, let's say, the Council of Elders to ask for a seat? What needs to change? What is the silver bullet? Is education perhaps the solution here?
I've even seen some professors, doctors, engineers, people with good education background struggle with women leadership. Because when they are back in their houses, it's like they are competing with this woman instead of being a complementary to the woman, which forces them to go and marry a lesser, you know, not every woman is okay, but maybe without achievements like the one they have in the house, so that their ego can be well massaged. It could be, culture plays a big role. Somebody like me who's run 3 times trying to become a member of parliament, single sub-county. I actually started in 2007. I wanted to be a member of parliament in the larger Nambale. Then they split it into 2 sub-counties. Now we have Matayos and Nambale constituency. Actually, Matayos is a split of Nambale. So I vied in Nambale once and also vied in Matayos twice, wanting to be a member of parliament, not woman rep. But the things that I gathered along the way as I campaigned, I realized that we still have to stretch more. As a nation, we are above 60 years since independence, but there are so many other gaps that we need to fill for people to finally settle in and say, this year we want a president who is a woman, governors, senators, all the way. 50-50 is possible. Many people struggle, and for a woman to actually get elected, they do 10 times things bigger, better. You have to always prove that you can. A man can easily wear a t-shirt or one jacket every day and still be in different rallies and no one notices. But when a woman is in red today like me, tomorrow red again, it's already a topic. She's recycling clothes. We just start from there. Somebody, and a journalist, wrote something one time and said she seems to recycle this particular, you know, the way you write, sometimes I just say, wow, I didn't even realize that I had recycled the same dress same week. So there are things that women are judged from the day they step out to want to be elected. It is even worse for those who are nominated, because no one believes that it is what they have done for the party that has earned them to be nominated. They attach you to somebody you slept with to get it. And yet these women who are nominated, I have a good friend in parliament. They are so sharp, so smart. They think outside the box. It's like a woman who has reached that level is always on her feet, thinking, praying, everything. They just do something different. Because we are always pushed to prove that we can lead, instead of being seen as part of the solution to our nation. So when you look at Articles 10, 27, you know, Article 26, even today I was reading, they're all geared towards gender balance, leadership. No more than 2/3 gender rule, you know, that
we'll be
gender,
coming to that.
yeah, should be in, but it's still happening. You know, it hurts me. It's still happening. If you go to so many offices, including my own office, Parliament, we have not looked into the constitution.
But Mheshimiwa, somebody who's watching you will ask you, you're a member of parliament, there are other women leaders who are also in that particular parliament. What are you doing about that 2/3 gender rule?
You know, the numbers matter. Anything in parliament, the numbers matter. We can say, yes, this has to pass, but how many are we? We have people who still derail, push back, pull down anything to do with women, even in parliament. And they don't hide it. Just last week, somebody told me I'm not well dressed. And I was very smart that day. There's a time you just wake up and something is so right about you, the spirit is up there, and then somebody just pulls your spirit down, you know? So the 2/3 gender rule thing, it is the state responsibility to make sure, to ensure that it happens in every sphere of leadership, appointive or elected, any offices, county level to national. But if you come to national, both Senate and National Assembly, we need to top up. And then they will come up with the story of a baggage, that if they top up women, it is a baggage to the nation. A woman has never been a baggage anywhere in the world. Go to America, go to UK, come back to Africa. So it's just a Pandora box. We celebrate women, yes. Actually, whenever I see a woman has become a governor or anything like that, I know what they've been through, because I've been through a lot as well. The 4th time I went in as a women rep, county MP, not single sub-county MP, which I always wanted. But I said even ventilation can give you some light. So I went through it into parliament where I always wanted. Then I realized where there's 2 Gs. Yes, we need to lobby, we need to seduce, you know, articulate issues that take care of both men and women, so that men are not scared. You know, today we will be saying it is women to be topped up. Some years to come, it will be men who will be looking to be topped up. And that is what they don't see. Because we are also surging and we are coming. Our girls are in school. If they learn to drive a tractor, our girls are learning to drive tractors. There are pilots also who are women, engineers. We are coming in bits. But it will reach a time, I'm saying, this 2/3 gender rule, it will be now the men asking for top-up.
Okay. And Daktari, let me get your views on that as well. Given that we have been singing about the 2/3 gender rule, we have even had the former Chief Justice, that is David Maraga, also dissolving the current 12th Parliament for not implementing the 2/3 gender rule. We do have the 13th Parliament in place now. What do you think the legislators, as an outsider, what do you think those legislators, especially women, should do in Parliament to ensure this is passed?
First of all, I want to appreciate my friend for the effort she's made even to reach there. I like that what she said, that even the ventilation can give you light. I like that. And basically what I feel is that women in that level should come together. Because when you come in as one voice, then you are able to achieve much. But you realize, even when you when you watch the news, when you read what is happening, there is a lot of fights between the women already in the parliament. But when they join together in one voice and lobby, I believe there will be something. And so far there is a lot of, we have seen a lot of nominated women, we have seen a lot of nominated senators and all that, despite the name and shaming and all that. In Kikuyu, what we say is that a river, you can never stop a river from flowing. It will still flow. And I believe that in future, and very near future, that this rule shall be implemented. Yes.
And of course, if you're just joining us, we're discussing the women agenda ahead of the International Women's Day, which is set to be marked on March 8th. And of course, it is marked every year. It is addressing the celebration of socio-economic, cultural and political achievements of women across this country and across the globe. Share your thoughts on our various platforms at Abdiaziz Hashim 2 and at KBC Channel 1. We'll be sampling them and of course posing them to our guests who are currently with us. Let me remind you, we do have Dr. Caroline Wangeshi. She is the founder of Visionary Apostolic Awakening Network International. We do have Honorable Catherine Omanyo. She is the MP of Busia County. And joining us is Rahab Muya, the National Chairperson, Maendeleo ya Wanawake. Let me get the thoughts of Rahab. Rahab, thank you for joining us this morning and of course welcome to the show.
Sorry for coming late. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, yourself.
Yeah. That's fine, Chair. We're talking about here the women agenda, where you stand as a leader, and of course the National Chairperson of Maendeleo ya Wanawake. We've been witnessing various press briefings you have called for, especially for CJ Martha Koome, in solidarity with the Chief Justice. But what milestones, can you just, from the top of your head, what milestones have women made in this country?
Thank you for inviting me. I want to say that, yes, there's been quite a lot of milestone, and for me, the last 2 weeks we've been on Beijing Plus 30. And when we look at the 12 critical areas, and one was that one of empowerment of women politically, we must, I mean, here I'm seated with ladies, you know, members of parliament elected by their own right. We must say that quite a bit has been covered. There remains quite a lot to be done, but I think as we look at Beijing Plus 30, it is important to go back and say all of us are in this journey, men and women. We may have to now start looking at the journey, according to me, for both of us, so that nobody is left behind. And you know, I know we've really pushed the government. It has been on the forefront, and we can look back and say, yes, I mean, here they are. However, we also need to push the boy. Both of us, I mean, everybody now needs to move forward. And I think from us where we are, having been this journey over 70 years as an institution, it's a clear reflection now we have to push everybody together so that then we are partners and we are moving together and nobody's left behind. A lot has been covered. When you look at judiciary, they are the first we need to clap, because right from CJ to registrar to deputy CJ, we have a whole team and other women, you know, Kinanjoki, all of them down there. There are areas, even parliament, I mean, just in 92, about 30 years ago, we only had 6 members of parliament, Charity Ngilo, you know, Mama Beth Mugo, Mother Karua. Today we are about 100, you know, so it is quite, we've moved. But as I've always said, and on this platform, and I said it last year I was here, those numbers need to translate into what we always said: you educate a woman, you educate a village. Those numbers now must translate into what is happening in the villages. We must be able, Catherine here, tukifika Busia, we see, yes, wamama wako na kuku, wamama wako na manji, ile maendeleo inafanya. Let us look out for one another so that we are working together. Poverty is one of the issues in the 12 critical areas of concern of Beijing, and we must agree we have many of our sisters in that line, on the poverty line. So a lot needs to be done on poverty. You know, we'll run through the areas, but just on opening is to say quite a bit has been covered, and from the 12, about 8 of the areas have been covered, but a lot needs to be done. On the women front, yes, we have moved. Thank you.
And Chair, you've just clearly given an example of the judiciary. We have a woman in position as the CJ, the deputy CJ, the registrar. What will it take for it to be implemented even in the executive and the legislative arm of government?
It just takes lobbying. I think when I came in, Catherine was talking about lobbying. It just takes lobbying. Talking to our men, you know, I come from a bit old school compared to these girls here. And therefore, we have always believed that you talk to men with that, you know, lobbying. Let me call it lobbying. Privately, it doesn't have to be on TV always. But we need to lobby the men. They need to see, but once we get those positions, the position should speak for themselves, so that as we lobby the men, they'll be saying, yes, in that village there's a woman MP. Do you know what is happening? The girls are going to school, have given birth. There's a nursery for girls who are orphaned children. There's a woman talking to the girls on Sunday when you know, just counseling them. So there must be an attraction so that then the men can come on board. Because men check for us what a woman achieves. A woman works 3 times to do what a man does once. So we must be able to prove our case, because this is the life we are in, and this is what the life is about. So that when you get to that village, we are saying, yes, I was in Catherine's village, and you know what? The dispensary there, the medicines there, you know, there's a poultry farm, there women have drinking water, Maendeleo is in Sawa, we partner with them. So that then that need of you educate a woman, and I underscore this from Maendeleo, you educate a village, it can then be seen across all the villages in the 1450 wards of this nation.
And of course, Daktari, coming to you in terms of away from leadership a little bit, some of the major challenges that women have been facing, especially in the country, is the gruesome killings we have witnessed, femicide cases on the rise. We have seen even the gruesome numbers that we have been given by the National Police Service, even the executive arm of the government telling us how many women have lost their lives, even to the DCI arresting an individual who allegedly killed 42 women and dumped their bodies at the Quarry dump site. Why are we still witnessing these particular cases, in your view?
In my view, regarding the femicide, it's illegal. That is crime. And women need to be encouraged to speak out. Because you find that in some communities, women believe that being beaten and going through all that situation, it is normal, it is okay. But it is important, and it's a high time to know that as a woman, you have to arise and speak. And we have to condemn femicide. We have to condemn domestic violence. We have to condemn anything that imposes pain on a woman. You see, like, you realize that you're told that if your husband has beaten you, you cannot report him. You cannot. But I believe, coming from the religious background, there's a time that even the apostle said that there are demons that you don't just bind. There are some demons that requires to be beaten. And so it is very important for women, when you see such kind of a situation happening, be it in your family, be it in your marriage, be it even in the workplace, it is important to speak out and report it. And in that way, you are able to, and I'm so happy to see even what the women rep for Nairobi is doing, fighting for this femicide. And many leaders are fighting, and they are going against it. Even our Wamushomba from Kiambu County, a lot of them are rising up, and they are encouraging women that you should speak out. You should, do not allow yourself to be oppressed. Do not allow yourself to be exposed to danger, and you can run. Yeah, so that is illegal, that is a crime, and everybody that is doing that should be subjected to the law.
And of course, Mheshimiwa, with your platform, should you not push this to become a national disaster? Because you can hear the statistics. DCI coming out saying it is 90 women, another 42 women bodies are dumped in a quarry dump site. That is allegedly, of course, the investigations are still ongoing. Why are we not seeing our legislators coming up to ensure, Parliament pushes this to ensure it is a national security?
I am utterly demolished to keep reading this. I was looking at it as somebody's sister, a mother, and on a broad spectrum, the frustrations that our society is facing, mental health that is not actually looked into, factors like lack of job, drug abuse. It's actually a major cause, because no normal human being, a man, can start listing women he wants to kill and talk about it. That's a mental case first. We need quick response units right at the police stations, posts, not even stations. Stations are bigger. In the village, remote areas, we have little police posts. And the nyumba kumis, to keep, you know, vigilant, visiting especially older women who live alone. We have neglected these people. I visited several in my county and found out that there are factors that can even cause somebody to easily come, rape and kill. A juza, a very old woman staying alone, no one crosses, no one passes there, there's no gate, no fence, just a lonely small house there. It's like she's just waiting to die. Gave up long time ago. That woman that I visited was actually raped. And I love the DCI in Busia. They moved very fast. As I'm talking now, the young man who's below 30 is in jail. But I'm saying that our system must change. You cannot give one policeman 400 people to take care of. He's human. These things are so slow. The bureaucratic corridor is too extensive, long, and it reaches a time the cases or files get lost. So the system needs to change to handle especially femicide differently. Because when you bangle a rapist, a murderer who went to do whatever they did and killed a woman, you bangle them with everybody else and then mention. It takes maybe a whole year or 2 or 3. By the time even anything is heard, the person who used to even come as a witness gave up, disappeared, changed numbers. It's lost along the way. So the system needs to be overhauled on how we handle this. 2, the way we raise our children. From, you know, most parents are too busy nowadays. They see children later in a rush. They're tired, they go to sleep. So maybe these children are raised with a house girl or a houseboy or a relative who was defeated maybe to extend their education and they are passing time there. And because of their own problems, they really don't care what these children do. They don't care what these children watch. It could be a movie of somebody killing so many people and it's fun and he's a hero. And they think killing is also heroic. So the culture that our children are being raised in is not how we were raised in. We were raised asking, where is Moses? And who is Jacob's friend? Can they come? Can mommy also know your friends? If a neighbor is absent, I could see my mom taking care of our neighbor's children until the neighbor comes back. But nowadays, everybody is on their own, they don't care. So some of these things that we have left out that really worked, although we looked like extended families, looked like not civilized, things like those, there are things in extended families that worked. The culture. The aunties took care of younger, upcoming girls and talked to us how to take care of ourselves, how to, you know, see men as men, being men. Our aunties would not mince anything. But there is a way, our mothers who are very busy, they're working, daddies very busy working, just thinking of how to pay bills, rent, you know, and not thinking of how to raise these kids. So some children have turned into beasts in our homes. And they can even turn against their own mothers and sisters and rape and kill. Yeah.
And of course, Chair, your organization has been speaking about these issues of femicide and GBV cases that have come up since the start of January. And we do know there is a presidential task force that will be sitting to discuss these particular issues. What are key areas do you expect them to touch on? What can you recommend they should look into first?
Thank you. I think I concur with what my sisters have said. But just to say, there seems to be a problem somewhere. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago with the chair of the task force, Nancy Barasa, the former deputy CJ, and a few other women in government. But I want to go back and look at it as, what have we lost as a nation? We seem to have lost values. We seem to have lost respect. there seems to be very little love for the next person. We seem to have lost integrity. Care has gone down. And therefore, to me, and I was telling the chair, it is a time for a reflection, a conversation in the country, the churches, the government, the parents. This is not the teachers. I don't think where we are is going to be handled by one person. And I will be inviting all of us to be going to, Baraza is in KICC as the chair. And she told us it's a team with researchers and all that. But bottom line, yes, we will now condemn the parents very much. I'm a grandmother, so I've passed through the parenting, and you are a parent until you leave this world, whether you are 100 or you are 50. But just to say, there were always working mothers. Whether they were working in the garden, they were tilling the land, and they were tilling until evening, and we never saw something like this. And when we concentrated on these 12 areas of Beijing, femicide really was not one of them. It is something which has come up. There is this hatred in the nation. Politicians, these people, you may have to tame the language you use, because it's being used on the screen. I mean, think about when children are on holiday for 10 weeks. What are you entertaining them to every day, so that we then make a conscious decision? If we are going to change this nation, certain things, we are going to step back. So for me, it is the government, it is the church, and we thank the president for putting the task force, but we want the task force, they are 40-something, to listen to everybody. Even those children we are saying have a mental illness, it started from somewhere. We must also then also agree that, I think she spoke about the extended family. Yes, it was there and it worked. But do you know, we have very many single parents in this country. So you have a son and your mother. An uncle, ideally, would have been standing in to walk this boy as they grew when the father was not there. We are also getting very different behaviors from within the family. Instead of holding maybe your brother's children to what you would have liked them to be, you become the destroyer within that family. So there are a lot of things for us to ask ourselves. Supposing I'm the one who was in the grave, and that brother, child you are torturing is the one who is alive. What would they do to your child? Supposing I am that auntie who is alive, and my sister's children are looking upon me, and all I can do is just make them maids. What would she do to my children if she's the one who was alive? So there is some love I feel we've lost as a nation, whether it is within the family, whether it is within the church, whether it is within the government, and we are telling one another very many things. I think we need to pause, because sometimes I say, if everybody in the region is watching us on TV every day, what do they think about us as Kenyans? Who is going to marry our cows? Because there's a time this region, I said from the old school East African days, African Airways, and those times, Nairobi was the hub, you know. So who is going to be coming to get our cows here even for marriage? Because you'll be saying, msichana Mkenya, utachukua upeleke wapi? So let's be very, very careful in going forward. Tukumbali, because you can only change a mistake which you have accepted you have. If you do not accept you have a mistake, then you'll not change it. But there is nothing wrong with making a mistake, as long as then you say, okay, this one, we cannot go this way again. And I think all of us Kenyans do agree. It is not normal to kill a person, cut them in pieces, put in a bag, and even carry. That is not even mental. I don't know what it is myself. So is it a cult? Yes. Is it a cult we are dealing with? Even the Mzungu was found in Makueni. I mean, how do you do this? So I think it's a point to reflect, and all the security forces, all of us together, we are all human beings. Nobody would want to be their child to be handled like that, their relative to be handled like that, so that then we have some love for one another, some respect for one another. I must be able to worry about Catherine. When I hear something about Catherine, even if I don't see her, I can pass a message. Catherine, sorry, I had this and this happen to you. Where did this go? Because it used to be there. Uncles, aunties, grandparents, church, my sister, church. Church of God. Yeah.
And of course, coming to you now, given that the chair has talked about the church itself, in terms of ensuring, because the chair has raised a very, very pertinent question, in terms of the messaging on how we talk to people, chair is saying it used not to be there. How did it come about we reached this particular situation in the 21st century? Is it the digital world that we're currently experiencing? Are we that exposed to the Westerners, what is happening in their own country? So we're trying to also infuse it within our own country. So as a church, where did we start going wrong?
I think the world has become a global village. You realize that you are in Busia and you are exposed to things happening in Russia. Your children, very small children, can tell you what is happening in Dubai. You know, a lot of, there's a cross culture and there is no limit. There is no regulation. The information is flowing everywhere. And so in that way, there is a certain influence, and this influence is not only good influence, it is also bad influence. Like there was a time I was reading the internet, and can you imagine there was a child who committed suicide? A suicide that is well planned. Through, you know, you are taken through with the program in the I think YouTube. There was an app, you go through step by step until you kill yourself. And this program is in the US. So you realize that this aspect of being global village is really influencing. And also realize that the youth are not even going to churches nowadays. They will go to the phone, they will pray. They will pray on phone with somebody in Nigeria or with somebody in wherever it is, because there is so much. But the regulation, even if, because I saw like yesterday the CS Kabogo was meeting with the TikTok team, and yes, we have to work out how these regulations are going to happen. There's an X. The other day I went into X. I'm seeing there's even pornography in X. So a lot of things are happening. A lot of information is being relayed everywhere without regulation. And in this way you find that people, our children, everything is changing. It's not like the way it used to be. All what you know is what you learn in church. All what you know is what you go for those women seminars. All what you know is what you go to those, men conferences. It's not like that. And therefore, there's this aspect of femicide. We have to train our boys. And I liked what she said, that as much as we are bringing the girls on the forefront, it is also very important to equip our boys on how to handle this empowered woman. Because you realize that boys have been left behind and girls are really moving forward very quickly, you know, very empowered. There is, you touch a girl like this, everybody is standing. And the boy, what is happening to the boy? Who is standing for the boy child? So you realize that you have this girl who is so empowered. And she asked a very important question: who will marry our girls? Because this girl has even gone to the US for training, has gone for conferences, has gone wherever, and this boy, all he knows is maybe farming in the land. Yeah? And so the moment this woman will come up with this kind of style, this boy, this young man cannot handle. So what will happen? Oh, this girl is proud. He will start doing what? Bring the advice from for the old men. Bring her, discipline her, bring her down. So then the moment, yes, you dehorn, cut the horns.
Okay.
You know?
Okay, I'll give you a chair.
And so in that way, you realize that this boy cannot handle this girl. So it is very important. And I've seen men are coming together. But we have to do more. The boys, there should be that balance. The balance of empowering the woman and empowering the boy child should come up. And in fact, a lot of emphasis should be put on the boy child at this rate, because we are getting, now you realize that girls are so empowered right now, they're even marrying other girls. They're turning to their fellow women because, you know, it is crazy. It is demonic. But what do we do? Elders, leaders, churches, people in the community. It starts in the community. It starts in the estate. It starts in the village. Because we cannot be talking about what is happening in State House, happening in another county, and you have not dealt it in your own house. So it's important for us to empower our own boys. It is important for us to tell the boys that that girl is empowered. She's not a threat for you. She's actually an advantage. Because at this rate of the economy, you need the woman to bring in something. Yeah? But if you just take a woman from, you know, then it will be the burden on the man, but you see how everything is rising. Yeah, so empowering a woman is good, even for the sake of sharing the finances, the responsibility and all that, but also the man has to be empowered to accept that empowered woman and not see that woman as a threat, and not see that woman like she's come to, like the way Moshima was saying, to sit on you. No, she's like, this woman, she's complimenting me. Maybe I'm not good in communication. I will do the behind work, but her, she can communicate. At the end of the day, everything comes to the same basket. But that is not what these men are saying. It's no longer that my money is my money and your money is our money. No, the things are crazy. The fees, the bills, the woman has to do something. But now, if we compress that woman, if we put her down, if we cover her, then we will overload the boy child with a lot of baggages, which that girl can assist and make life more comfortable and easy.
Chair, I'll give you an opportunity. Let me give Moshimo as we come down for fairness. I don't want you to accuse me of being unfair. Chair, Moshimo, we're talking about the issues, the clearly issues of culture. You've clearly talked about mental health issues, but are these not excuses? Why should people hide behind these particular veils of culture and mental illnesses and commit such heinous acts?
Somehow in the families or our societies, you will have people with various characters. Sometimes the character can be triggered when something happens. Then you now learn that this person has been like this after the action. Like you would see somebody who goes to church, very born again, and if you asked their pastor who they are, you will get very good accolades. But behind the curtain, that pastor has no clue what that person does. I'm married to a bishop myself, and we counsel people. You can easily see spiritually somebody who is not that one speaking. And because Antichrist is surging, coming by force to teach otherwise, the society, it has become normal to be violent. Even our young people, they want to be the strong person who finished somebody or killed somebody or crushed somebody, even if they are racing with the car. You will see they're racing, somebody is trying to bump the other one to collide. A lot of digital ways that have come in have brought good and bad at the same time. In our cultures as Africans, there are things that are not just us. We are puppets acting like somebody else in our skin. Like she mentioned, we took care of each other. That is gone now. We wanted to know, why is Mama Nani's eye swollen? And as women, we would sit and talk and cry together, and that's it. But nowadays is do your own thing, like mind your own business. It's like you are poking your nose in the wrong trough if you try to find out and be of help. We have become so independent, yes, to the level that as a society, speaking up, sometimes it's seen like you're making noise. So a well-groomed girl is the one who shuts up. And you would hear some parables in our native languages that a fish with its mouth shut cannot be, can avoid a hook. You know, like a good girl keeps quiet, doesn't talk. So I'm saying there's so many factors, they might look like excuses that are giving birth to this homicide. Even drug addiction. It is real. Somebody kills, and when they are sober, they say, I didn't do it, but they did it. Then there is cult. There are people who say if you kill a 9-month-old girl, you'll become a billionaire. So they are busy looking for little girls of that age to kill, so they become billionaires. Or some organs from a woman. If you bring, you'll become a billionaire. So the church somehow needs to step up. So many mushroomed other churches have soiled the real church, where we learnt a lot, got help. Most churches those days when I was younger were philanthropic. Now the churches, it's like we are building a mansion for the pastor, we are buying a 4x4 for the pastor, where all the energies of the church has turned. The church must look flamboyant. There are churches that could be under a tree, but they are raising funds to educate a girl or a boy who has made it to university. But there are other churches where when we raise even 10 million, it is for building the church. The church is the individuals in the church. We have turned it around. So the apostle here will be looking at me. I also preach.
Yes, I see.
The church is the individual. I was raised by the late Bishop Sulmeti of a Catholic church, but I'm born again. What he wanted is girls in the villages who have made it to university, and I was among them. So my fees was coming, and I didn't know who was bringing, how. They don't care, because they know I'm in the institution learning.
Okay.
How many churches today have gone to the streets and picked street boys and girls out and brought them to the church, built a boarding school, a hostel to raise these children from the street, because they have no mommy, no daddy to stay there. How many? Today people are detaching from responsibility, from the church to families to even the nation itself, because of the baggage everybody's seeing that it comes with.
Okay. Given that we're running out of time, Chair, now you can respond. We're running out of time. Your remarks on what Dr. said and Moshima?
I think, thank you. Let me say that now that we are on church, my wish and prayer would be, and we are on YouTube speaking about this for the last, I think, 6 years. I'm a traditional, born Anglican, baptized at 80 days, and married to a Catholic. So I understand two churches very well. And went to a Catholic school, boarding school. And I can confirm the work which has been done by those two churches in this country, and to an extension, the Catholic Church. Having said that, I know the pulpit, and therefore on Sunday, I've always gone to church, because at the pulpit from when I was young, when my parents took me to church, there will be a sermon which will be given, and that is what you take home from a church. Today, we never get to see the pulpit, we see the politicians. So I'll be asking for a separation, that we keep that pulpit, and I'm on record saying it, talking about, that can we hear the sermon of this Sunday, so that whoever never went to church have an opportunity to hear the message of that Sunday than just listening to a politician. Can we also separate? We have seen barriers, we have seen things in this country which you do not see in another country. And so we must ask ourselves in Kenya, we seem to have a lot of competition. What is it for? What is it about? How much do we need in our entire lives? How many meals can you take in a day? We must, for me, it's a reflection for us as Kenyans, me included. The government. The boy we are talking about, it saddens me, because a man is what has reached us here in this nation. And to be a man and a woman, of course, and to be able to be looking at a man like the other child who we must now support saddens me, because we have very many successful men and our children in this nation. And therefore the government, for me, the children, I see you are in a hurry, we have said it as Maendeleo to politicians. Can we get our children to training and give them skills? That would be my parting shot. Because I want to give you an example of a girl who is not working, a school dropout, and a boy. A girl will be able to go to Kenyatta Market and do some salon work and braid hair. The boy will go to industrial area and not get a job at the end of the day, and the girl will come home with some 300-400 shillings. So who is going to buy the food? I'm looking at the lesser boy now. Who is going to buy the food? It's going to be this girl. Parting shot is to say, family was not about money. It is the best institution. Family was about partnering together, and whoever brings what they bring, it is in silence, and its family is a unit of God. So it should never be you brought more money than I brought. brought. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. That is Rahab Muya, the National Chairperson of Maendeleo Wanawake. Next to the chair is Honorable Catherine Omanyo, the MP of Busia County. And finally, Dr. Caroline Wangeshi. She is the founder of Visionary Apostolic Awakening Network International. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Of course, if you want to revisit this particular discussion, you can find it on our YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1. You can rewind it back and listen to the thought-provoking discussions that the various guests here have raised. In the second hour, it will be all about the state of the nation. We'll be discussing the 2025-2026 budget and the various proposals that are currently being made before the National Assembly. And then finally, we'll be winding it up on the 2027 succession politics. Don't go too far. We are taking a short commercial break.
Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Ima na wendo mwingi tukikuthokia Embu County, the land of opportunities. Gambonene ya Ngemi FM mushi worata.
Tuega gure na kamwetha kama viumeto. Muroro kiande tukunye maire na murori tuthie thokore besa mivukore cha
manje makiyara uranje mure cietu cia thitima na ronje ruwathagana nyamu cia kithaka igitugemeria bururi wetu wa mbere Embu County. Ngemi FM tikomuno tukianirira na mugambo munene. Eno ni
Ngemi FM
musie wa urata.
Eno ni nyumba nene
musie wa urata.
Ngemi FM 103.5.
Wellness is important in our daily lives so that instead of just surviving, we should be thriving.
Ways to prevent a stroke or heart attack is for you to know what conditions you have by regular checkup. People don't know they have hypertension. They don't know they have diabetes.
I was pre-diabetic. I was afraid of getting lifestyle diseases because I come from a family that has lifestyle diseases.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
Two and a half years after key policies were planted, is Kenya reaping the benefits?
Soko watu wanalia, hawana pesa. Sasa unabidi tu unarudi na kitu yako yenye umepeleka huko kwa soko.
Can the country return to the soil and harness its agricultural potential for food security?
Shamba ukiangalia mazao hakuna. Hata hii kilimo hii matunda ni ya siku moja tu.
Join us on Tuesday at 9 p.m. as you speak to Agriculture PS Dr. Kiprono Rono on government's progress in filling the country's bread basket.
The Shift, Tuesday at 9 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
The young generation awakens on Y254, the leading youth TV station in Kenya. We treat you to current affairs, entrepreneurship, health, and human interest conversations.
It's art, it's culture.
Movies, gossip and trends, sports, drama.
We bring you a vibe like no other, straight to your living room.
To keep you informed, inspired, entertained, and most of all, refreshed.
We are such a vibe.
Y254. Imagine.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now in the second hour, it will be all about the various proposals that are currently being made for the budget of 2025-2026. We heard from the Exchequer, the various ministries, even the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is the IBC, that clearly stated they require at least 61 billion shillings to efficiently run or conduct the 2027 polls. And of course, we'll be speaking to Kimani Mwangi, political analyst. Also will be joining us is Sami Melia, political analyst, and also Vincent Kimasope, policy and governance specialist, who also will be joining us in just a few. But before I start engaging Mr. Kimani, there are also other events that we're keeping an eye on. Very key is that the president is also currently in Malava celebrating the life of Honorable Malulu Njendi, who passed on just the other day. The president has already arrived at Malava and will be sharing that particular link and various other links that we're keeping an eye on in terms of also the universal health, peaceful processions. The workers under the UHC will be making peaceful processions from that started Green Park Terminus all the way to the Ministry of Health, to the Treasury, and then Parliament as well. Also, we'll be keeping an eye on various parliamentary committees that are currently happening in the Augusta House. We'll be sharing with you, given that they're making proposals ahead of the budget reading that will be presented for the first time in his career. That is John Buddy, the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury. Now, joining us is Kimani Mwangi, a political analyst. Kimani, good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning so much even for the invite. It's been quite some time.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. And of course, within that time, so many things have unfolded.
Yeah,
and of course,
sure.
The first one we'll talk about is the 2025-2026 financial year.
Yes.
You have heard from various ministries. You've heard from the proposals that have been made by the Treasury. Let me get your general views over it all.
Right. You see, the fact is that the budget estimates this time around, especially the expenditure part of it, has grown. We've started at 4.3 T. We are estimating that we shall be able to correct 3.5 from the total revenue put together, around 3.5 trillion. My view has always been that we run faster than we should. I think the biggest mistake happened with the previous regime. The Kibaki regime tried to work within what it was able to collect from total revenue, ensuring that the budget deficit, which is always the figure between that which you can collect and that which you intend to spend, always ensuring that the budget deficit was to the minimum. That way, the country was able to grow for 10 years with accumulated national debt borrowed at around 1.9 trillion, 10 years. That tells you that the country was not borrowing more than 200 billion yearly in Kibaki's time. Right? That is the net of what remained after you pay some. We were not left with over 200 billion loan on net debt yearly. Now, when Uhuru regime came, that figure rose from 200 billion yearly because Uhuru borrowed around 700 billion yearly. The budget deficit grew very high. We were budgeting, we did not collect, or what we budgeted for was more than even what we collected was less than 2/3 of what we were budgeting for. Now, over 10 years, we were left with a total debt of about 10 tea by the time this regime was coming in. Now, while it is true that the regime was forced to keep the budget estimates high because it has to cater for over 1 T, that it has to keep paying the national debt account every year. Now we are at a situation where we are estimating we shall collect 3.5 T. That's a lie. I can tell you KRA will fall short of that target. If it falls short of that target, and we are at 4.3 T in terms of our national budget estimates that we estimate to spend, then our deficit will go high. We will have supplementary budgets in between. And we've also learned that our supplementary budgets are not to cut down on expenditure. They are to increase on expenditure. So what we are likely to do is that in the course of 2025-2026, we shall spend more, we shall collect less, so our deficit will grow, and so will our national debt.
And of course, joining us also an economist, aside from being a policy and governance specialist, Vincent Kimosop. Thank you for joining us this morning.
I appreciate. Good morning.
Good morning as well. The main question that I posed to Kimani, you have heard from the various ministries who are going to Parliament to ask for more money. You have heard from the Exchequer clearly stating what they can do within the financial year. So let me start with the general comments when it comes to the budget outlook that we are set to receive for the 2025-2026. In your view, what does it look like to you?
Always a pleasure to be here and to contribute to the national discourse and conversation. I think if you look at where we have come from, I am looking at the economic trajectory. The growth of our economy, just going back, we are in 2025, go back to 2020. The COVID-19, the issues of the drought, locusts, and where we are at, we are on a recovery mode, but not a recovery that is, or a growth that is generating the opportunities that are enough, particularly for our youthful population. So I think, whereas, for example, I know we are the growth, particularly in the last quarter, you can see a reduction, but comparably, if you compare our growth figures both in the sub-Saharan Africa and globally, I think only the Indian economy and the Chinese economy would be, in terms of numbers, would be doing far much better. Because also globally, the globe is also recovering, because the COVID-19 was part and parcel of, it was a global issue. Then we had Ukraine, which affected global supply chains. Not very clear how the impact of the conflict in the Middle East region has affected our country. So in summary, what I'm pointing out is that the budget has to speak to things. One, it has to consolidate the gains that and the momentum that we are currently having. As I said, we mainly don't have a growth problem, but an issue of we are growing unequally, as in we are not generating the opportunities enough, particularly to generate employment and for our young people. So consolidating the growth would be critical, opening up opportunities for our young people, and also finally would be a management of our debt, because by the time you're doing 1 trillion payments annually to address 1 trillion to address debts, both external and internal, so a lot of resources is leaving the economy, which are actually required to remain. So I think that's how I see generally the budget outlook and the things that must be addressed. Of course, I think being 2025, it's also the transition year. From 2026, I'm sure you, being a media person, the election season will already kick in. And when the noise begins to increase, actors and players within the economy tend to take a shack back to adopt a wait and see approach. So that, for me, is how I look at the budget, and I'm happy my colleague has given the figures. Let's engage.
And of course, it's very good that you've brought up even the debt of this particular country. Let me give you a little bit of figures that was given yesterday by the Control of Budget as well as the Auditor General.
Yes.
They clearly stated that the Kenya's debt burden could rise following the latest projections by the Exchequer itself, that it could rise to 12 trillion in 2025-2026 financial year. In December 2024, comparing with the last financial year, the debt stood at 10.9 trillion, comprising of 5.057 trillion external debt, representing a 46.3%, while 5.868 trillion domestic debt, representing 53.7% of the country's debt. Further, Kenya owe multilateral lenders such as the IMF, World Bank, and the African Development Bank a combination of 2.833 trillion, representing 54.9%, and of course other external lenders like bilateral countries that we are in bilateral relationships, like they represent 21.8% of the debt which is owed to lenders such as China, France, and UAE to the tune of 1.102 trillion. Before I come to you, Vincent, let me start with Kimani. Kimani, you can see the debt trajectory of this particular country. The Exchequer is saying it is set to rise. The Control of Budget is saying it is set to rise. What is that, or what will be the impact of the country's economy?
You know, it's quite a huge danger because we were at 60% of our GDP, the debt ratio to our GDP. It keeps rising. Now, the danger with it, while it is not such a dangerous thing if the economy is inclined on manufacturing and the industry as the core feeder into the GDP, ours is not. We shifted from being agricultural state, we are more of a logistic state or economy. Now, because if you look at the contribution to the GDP of sectors, you realize that agriculture is no longer the leader. Right? In fact, it is a shame that our biggest foreign exchange earner is remittances from diaspora. And I would think that is what has informed our thinking that we should export as much labor as we can. And by so saying or doing, we're becoming a logistical economy, which is not such a good thing. Now, the danger with this, as my fellow discussant was explaining...
As you explained, but yes. How do you address then the issue of unemployment if there are no jobs here in the country and there are others out there?
I agree to some extent that we are left without much option in the short run.
Yes.
What we should be doing is to combine it with a long-term plan to make sure that, for now, the best is to export. Because what do you do when you already have a ready labor market that you have no use for?
Yes.
You give it out to places where it can be made use of, and then you generate income from it. Not a bad idea. We should combine it with a long-term plan or strategy to make sure that in the near future, we should be able to adopt, like every of graduate that comes from our institutions, which can only be through growing of industries and sectors that would heavily employ the youth. There has never been a better sector than the industrial, the manufacturing sector. If we can grow our economy and align it to manufacturing, then we'll be able not only to generate more income, but also to employ more people which will spark macroeconomic activities in the economy and grow it exponentially. But now, the danger of this, our having national debt, that is almost 50% of our debt, is that when it comes to payment, we are talking of over 500 billion yearly that we are paying outside. So that money is not trickling down into the economy. So we are not feeling the effect of 500 billion that has been received by the Treasury. Remember the burden we have of the pending bill. Again, we have held a lot of money. And did you see the structure of the pending bill? Much of it is of suppliers. Meaning that suppliers are not people, suppliers are people who bought things and suppliers. So the much money you're holding is money that when it comes back to the economy, much of it goes into
paying
to grow the economy through trade. which is why we need to figure out a strategy whether we are going to collateralize these debts and issue them as treasury or as bills and have people buy into them so that we release the money to the economy. We need to figure out. So I think the danger with this, our borrowing, is that it has put us into a trap where we have to keep borrowing, because think of our wage bill. Think of our recurrent expenditure. The national government has to give county governments around 400 billion yearly. When you put all that together, and this is Tier 1 expenditure we must expend with it, our CFS stands almost at 2 trillion. Now, you know, the Chapter 15 institutions, we have to budget for them first. Then our national debt, it is put in the same kikapu with these institutions and our pensions also. So when we have like almost 2T going to CFS, and then we have other recurrent expenditure, you understand why the country has to keep borrowing. So the only way out of this trap, firstly, is to seal loopholes through corruption.
Let me say this, I'm speaking because I hope it's a discussion.
Yes, so it's a discussion. Yes.
I think the Kimani, right?
Yes.
I think for me, the plan is in place. I think, Kimani, what I see, the issue is two-pronged. One is faithfulness in execution, effective communication, and onboarding Kenyans to be part of this track. What do I mean? Like, if we can reduce that political dividend, like what popular politics will do, and we get more people understanding, as he is, I've just met him in this show, and you say that he's a fellow economist, of course we'll get to know each other more. The advantage of why it becomes easy to align in terms of thought and engagement is because we are dealing with facts that, hey, you can be able to make a decision. If we become faithful in executing what is on the table, I think we're good. The easiest place, jack agriculture. Get everybody who can easily utilize their farm back to production. Then second tier is strengthening value addition. So if you're producing milk, from that 1 liter of milk, when finally you either use it and or you sell it, the farmer should be getting a good return for it. Then what I'm looking at value addition is the roads that ensures that the milk gets to the next depot. If you look at the tea industry, the KTDA model, they have very good aggregation. Not just after the farmer picks their tea, there is a collection center, and then from that collection center, the KTDA framework, transportation, maintenance of the roads, getting the tea to the factory. What does that do? It ensures that there is more value addition from what the farmers produced and their return, and even all the way to their payment. If you look at the level of inconvenience that the farmer has to go to look for their money, with technology they can get to be paid back. If we can strengthen then therefore value addition, so that then we have agriculture that feeds into industry. As you're saying, manufacturing has a higher return. Slowly by slowly, what's going to happen is that we will have more returns on the work, and we begin addressing the issues of productivity. Just look, Kinangop or Nyandarua here. Farmers do very well. They do, the climate is good, they do cabbages, but immediately the cabbage leaves the farm, the road needs to be fixed to be in good condition. And then also the means that they utilize to send. I don't know if you've seen this truck that ferry cabbages. You will see one truck and they're putting cabbages upon cabbages. So what is happening to the cabbages that are, those ones are, you are destroying, and therefore, so you know, I'm trying to make this conversation not as complicated as possible, so that those who are watching us can relate. So that the price of a cabbage that the farmer who sold it in Kinangop, if it is 20 shillings in Kinangop, what's going to happen? The transportation margin between Kinangop to Nairobi, you should be buying it at around 30, at most 35. What does that do? you get to address issues of cost of living, and then more money is availed for people to utilize and to consume in other things. Economics at times can look complicated, but when we break it down in a way that is relatable, and if that happens to each and every sector, what's going to happen? Then we will begin to have an economy that is functioning from the micro level all the way to the macro level. I'll come to the next issue, these issues of pending bills. In addition to dealing with pending bills, both national and county level, we also need to address the issue of cost of credit. Because when the government is borrowing domestically, it's competing with the private sector. And then you have, in economics you call it crowding out. They push the private sector because, you know, a bank will say between lending somebody who is going to risk the money in business and a government that will always be in perpetuity, I'd rather lend the government. And then slowly by slowly, what happens? The private sector is affected. So if we address two things, we pay the pending bills, county and national level, then we address the issue of the cost of credit, then alongside that ensure that the economy, the context of doing business, like there is predictability. We are moving towards, I don't know if you've been listening to the country, we're already beginning as though 2027 is going to be this year. I think, I don't know, maybe we should blame the media who are hyping this. I know I'm in a media station. We need to reduce that noise so that then for the next 3 years, we can focus on production.
And of course, coming back to Kimani, there's another pertinent question here. If they are projecting that the debt will rise to 12 trillion, will we be seeing the cabinet secretary going to parliament and asking them to raise the debt ceiling?
Firstly, you know, the National Assembly ceded that power to the national government to manage, to the Treasury to manage the debt. So the minister doesn't necessarily have to go back to the National Assembly. And as I said it, our national debt, would we had a good structured or a well-structured economy, it is not in the dangerous zones. Even the IMF and the World Bank has said so, that we aren't at that point where we have to be classified as a risk when it comes to borrowing. It will definitely affect us. And the reason is it's because of the way we are doing things as a government. Now, if we can talk of agriculture, as Kimosop is explaining, it is sad that 98% of our agriculture is dependent on rain. It is rain-fed, staggering 98%. It is also very sad that the arable land, the land that we have converted into tilling, is only 11%. Now, if we remained true to what Kenyatta and Moi had started for us, that Kenya should be an agricultural state, if we continued with it, mechanize it, and even build our manufacturing industry around agriculture, today would be having a very robust economy, right? Now, and then the other thing that is greatly affecting us is our corruption nature as a country. Why did Dangote establish in Ethiopia when he wanted to establish in Kenya? You've seen the kind of cement company he's establishing down there. And he had told us that if we allowed him to establish here, he had promised that he would sell us cement at around 450 shillings then. But because we elect ourselves politicians who also have vested interest in the economy, think of like the Kenyatta family, for instance. Any sector of economy they are the biggest dealers in that sector. Talk
we
of
cannot
finance.
ascertain that is allegedly. We cannot ascertain.
No. But you see, these things are factual.
Factual, but
let's even use the word. Let's even use the word. One of the biggest dealers.
Yes.
For fairness'
Quote the
sake,
source,
right?
Kimani.
Yes.
This is a factual house. Quote the source.
Let me put it like finance, for instance. It is a known fact that NCBA, which is number 3 biggest bank, is the Kenyatta family are the biggest, one of the biggest shareholders with the Ndegwa family.
That is your
So
view.
that is finance. Talk of milk industry.
Okay.
Brookside control over 75% of the milk industry. So any sector you touch, talk of agricultural sector. Their land, right? It competes to no one. We are not maligning anybody. We are talking of facts. Think of the current president, stakeholding in Amaco Insurance. Hotel industry.
Quote the source.
No, hotel industry.
Okay, quote the source.
You get what I mean? Now, when you have politicians with vested interest in the economy running the state, conflict of interest will always be there. And it is, by the way, if there is a serious discussion that this nation must have, is how conflict of interest from politicians governing this state has affected the growth of our rather very robust economy. Because much of the problems we have and why we have made it very difficult for investors to come and even invest in the country, part of it is because of the vested interest. Right? If I have vested interest in milk industry, I wouldn't allow another company to come and become my fiercest competitor in that industry, so I'll have to frustrate them if conflict of interest takes the center stage. By and large, what we are trying to say is that we have a very stable economy. What we need to do to it is to seal loopholes from where we have money being wasted. Now, when you have Auditor General telling us every now and then, it has become moments of agony when you read the reports from the Auditor General, because every report will have something that injures you inwardly.
When it comes, maybe just
let him finish.
Oh, sorry.
You get what I mean? So we need to work around how we shall fix the loopholes through which we waste money. The Treasury itself told us we lose 2 billion daily on corruption, right? Association of Manufacturers in Kenya told us, no, it is not. In fact, it was FKE. Told us it is not 2, it is 3. What that implies is that we are losing over 1 trillion. From the 4 we intend to spend, 1 trillion will go into people's pocket. Now, think about it. And this is where all our problems originate from, by the way. Our deficit is less than 1 trillion.
The budget deficit?
The budget deficit is always
800 billion.
less than 1 trillion. The budget, the part of what we call development expenditure is always less than 1 T. Last year it was 780 billion, right? We are stealing more than what we intend to spend on development expenditure. We are stealing more than what we intend to pay out to national debt, or more or less the same amount. So if we are stealing a third of our budget, then you understand where the problem is coming from. If we can seal these loopholes, we could have money set aside to take to the agricultural sector to mechanize it, so that at least we reduce this dependency on rain and put as many farmers on mechanized agriculture for increased production, so that at least even if we could reduce it to around 60% dependency, you can trust me that we would be a net exporter of agriculture in the country.
There is, do you know, I know we are having an economics conversation,
Yes.
but you know, a human being is not just economics. A human being is a sum total of many factors. When you look at the challenges that we are facing as a country, the issue of corruption, negative ethnicity, and the issue of impunity. Those are the 3 maladies that needs to be addressed as a country. I see a mirror of a values problem. We have Article 10(2) of the Constitution that talks about national values. because it is a consequences of a decay deep within. So I think we also need to strengthen some of the institutions, because for you to effectively deal with corruption, Kimani, I always I worked in an anti-corruption organization. You need 4 things. You need very strong political will. And political will is not just looking at the person who occupies the highest office. It is everybody who is in a decision-making position, having the will and the commitment or the wherewithal to be able to do and make, not only do the right thing, do it for the right reason. That's political will, all the way to a headmaster. Because we're hearing money capitation goes to school from the Ministry of Education. Books don't get there. So that one is a decision at the headmaster's level. Then we also need to really address our institutions. When I look at some of our institutions, look for example the EACC. We have multiplicity of players. EACC, DCI. You know, why can't we consolidate some of those things so that we have well coordinated, and even empower EACC to be able to do their own prosecution? Because at times this issue of if you investigated and you are sure that this is going to achieve convictions, why don't we empower EACC to be able to carry out the investigations and be able to prosecute? And then we also need to continuously improve our policies. Kimani, the corrupt are usually ahead of the system. They are living tomorrow while the system is speaking about the past. So investing in technology, digitalization. I remember while we used to do annually the Kenya Bribery Index while working for Transparency International, we realized that those institutions that confidently face, digitalize, and provide bold leadership, engage their stakeholders over time, they exited the bribery index. So reduce the level of human interaction, leverage on technology, but also more importantly, address the issue of culture. I'll tell you, colleagues, you very smartly dressed gentlemen, the ill-gotten wealth is celebrated. Look at when it comes to elections. If you come out, you say, I want to contest for certain position, even not questioning how you acquire it. So we have to confront this issue. Why is it that we celebrate ill-gotten wealth? And therefore, why is integrity, which is very expensive, not celebrated in the public square? Because what is celebrated in the public square is actually the mirror of our society is in its leadership. So why is it that our political space tend to attract those who are not doing very well on the integrity radar? Allow me to speak positively instead of that way. If you do those 4 things, then the issue of corruption will be addressed.
But then you see, my take on corruption is very simple. It is more, there is a scientist who came up with this thing we call the Lucifer's effect. And he says that people are innately evil. There is no place where you will find people who are angels. That is why we jokingly say that angels are not found on earth. So, since it is not an issue of bad people, per se, that we have bad people getting into the politics or even to places of public employment, it is more of a bad barrel, where you put people into a bad system. They will definitely go bad. It is more of like the way you've put it, that if you carry a truck of cabbages in a truck that is not well ventilated, that environment will spoil more cabbage than
the effort taken.
Yes, than the cabbage, one spoiled cabbage would have damaged in the process. If then it is more of a system issue, what happens is improvement, concerted effort, political goodwill to improve the system. Now, let's even figure out what has happened with Waitito, for instance. So we have a governor who oversaw a process where a county lost over 500 billion. million. Yes, 500 million, yes. But because he got 21 million in kickbacks, so the justice system tells him, let's double what you got, and you pay that. And then we follow somebody else to pay what they stole. But then ARA is holding assets worth almost $1 billion, slightly over $1 billion, belonging to this fella. Now, if law is supposed to serve justice, and also to serve as to make you a lesson from which we should learn, then what lesson did governors learn from Waitito's case? It was a motivation, in my opinion, to steal. Because money is not a big issue to this guy. ARA is already holding his assets that is over $1 billion. And then you tell this guy to pay 50 after a county has lost over 500 million. Why don't we make it more punitive to this person? For instance, let's tell this guy, no, okay, we understand you took 23 trillion or million in terms of bribes. We shall not tell you to pay because you know you can pay, but we shall put you on a 12 years jail term without recourse. You are not going to pay any fine. You go serve your 12 years, come back. That is more punitive, and it will discourage corruption more. Now, corruption happens because there is no disenfranchisation of people who are at a higher echelon of leadership. The traders. Yes. Now, think of it this way. It has become more lucrative to join politics than to grow your business. I can tell you that for a fact. I graduated from Kenyatta University with a number of people who are in parliament. And I can tell you we've been in business from the time we graduated. And these guys will get elected within a short time. They have like 10 times what you think you have. Because politics is more lucrative. People are not going to politics because they want to serve people. They are going to politics because of chances of making more money and acquiring power with which you have power to do whatever you want and law does not catch up with. It is more of a system issue. Like, is it that those in positions of power don't know what we can do with EACC, like Kimosop is proposing? They do. But if you strengthen EACC today, who will EACC start by catching? The corrupt politicians, the corrupt parliamentarians, the corrupt president, the corrupt ministers. So why would those who have powers to decide what EACC can become strengthen it, knowing they will be the first victims of strengthened EACC?
Kimani, why I'm engaging is the joy of when the conversation is. Sorry, I should appreciate that.
Okay, it's okay.
Apologies. You know, Kimani, we should not, because we are in a technical place per se in this conversation. I don't fear to put ideas outside there, because what is going to happen over time when people begin to feel the pinch of lack of service delivery, the issues of corruption, at some point you get to an elasticity point where the members of the public can ask, what can be done to stop this?
They did.
I'm just giving that example of that ability to say, hey, if we are to stop this. I remember in one of the the conversation on getting the country a new constitutional order. Somebody needed to put that idea outside there on the table and says, ladies and gentlemen, the issue is not the individual who is sitting in the office. It is the framework that facilitates the individual, any one person who will get into that office under the current circumstances. The system will facilitate them to do this. So what do we do this? Let us strengthen the laws, the systems, the structures in such a way that they are not oriented towards producing this. And that's why we talked about the Constitution. Is it perfect? No. But the point I'm trying to point out is there will be resistance, but there will come a time, Kimani, where a bad idea has to give way for a better idea on the table. I will tell you this, Kimani, today, when you look at our country, there are conversations we don't get to. Today, we do not talk about the issue of term limits. Everybody knows you're serving as a governor, it's 2 terms maximum. If you're serving as a president, you know, that conversation, there was a time whereby that conversation was not part of our national conversation. And I have pointed out very clearly, we need to address corruption. We need to address the issues of the issue of impunity. We also need to address the issue of negative ethnicity, whereby we celebrate and we are proud of our cultural heritage and diversity. But at the same time, those who mortgage it and weaponize it to destroy the very fabric of society because of short-term interest needs to be exposed. One of the institutions I believe that we also need to address, for example, next time when we are addressing, maybe we need a session to see on these three issues, since we already know. Let me even take up this conversation. If you look at the manifestos of before the election, last 2022, if you looked at the manifesto of Zimio and the manifesto of
Kenya
Kwanza, you would see very clear ideas that mirror the Vision 2030. That is a proud legacy that we were left by the Kibaki's administration, the Vision 2030. What does that tell you? That our problem, therefore, is that issue of faithful execution, using Vision 2030 as a mirror to take the country to the next level. So this issue of corruption, as we strengthen system, as we improve our laws and policies, as we address the issue of leadership and political will, then we also now can confront the issue of our culture and our values. How is it that those who represent a better vision are not able to get to the decision making because of the shallowness of their pockets? That becomes an issue on the table whereby we begin to confront. And when we expose it, Kimani, do you know what happens? I always believe in the issue of what is it, this gentleman, the former president of the US, he says, ask not what your country can do, but what is it that, JF Kennedy, what is it that you can do for your country? At this moment, we are very clear, we have itemized the three issues that are confronting our country. We know very clearly that if with the wherewithal and the commitment, they can be addressed. The others have done it and have come out of it. I remember the one senior, I think, leader in Singapore. He was interviewed one time. He says, you people in Singapore, are you tending towards communism or are you tending towards capitalism? What works? He says, for us, it is a system that works. And he just gave an example. You know, if it is a black cat, white cat, or a gray cat, the most important thing is that if the cat is catching a mouse, we will go for that cat. So ideas that will produce results that will better our country, so that dreams and aspirations as captured in our national anthem, that plenty be found within our borders, then it behoves us to be able to have this level of conversation. In fact, Kimani, I have to say this.
Yes, I have to ask you a question. We're running out of time, yes. I need to ask you a question, both of you, given that I can see you've already set your hats, your economic hats, Kando. Now you have put your political analyst hats. Let me ask you this question. Let me ask this question because it's very vital and we're running out of time. Let me start with Kimani before I come to you. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which is the IBC, came to Parliament, asked Treasury to the tune of 61 billion shillings to conduct the upcoming polls. The amount is 20 billion shillings more than the one they used in 2022, which was around 41 billion. What do you make of that?
It is true. We have to factor in that 5 years ago, or say, because the period in between elections is 5 years, what a billion was 2022 will not be the same in 2027.
Inflation.
Inflation aspect of it demands that you budget for more. Because even what was costing, the cost is not static in the 5 years. But then it is more of an issue of explaining why do you need more than what we had allocated in the previous regime. If you can explain it better, because at the end of the day, all we want is a free, fair and a credible election.
Verifiable.
As far as long as that is what we want, and what you're asking for is justifiable and makes sense, then there is no issue about it.
And to many Kenyans are saying, aside from the value of the shilling itself, they're saying that's expensive.
And they most likely the influence of the political class, and again, allow me to blame the media here. The IEBC is a very emotive institution because of the role it plays, because it's the mediator of the will, the popular will of the people, translated in Chapter 1 of the Constitution, that all sovereign power belongs to the people, and then they can delegate that power to then Parliament, and these are the institutions. Then the other thing that also we have seen over time is what Kimani has pointed out, the issue of communication. Where communication stops, imagination take over. So I think the IBC have a responsibility of just putting this information outside there. This is where this money is going for. This is what it's going to do. These are the things that we have done. And if you know anywhere we can do better, we also welcome ideas. If they can do it there, so that it is, because the money that they are requesting is money that is going to come from the members of the public. I'll tell you this, if people understand, because also it is in the interest of the Kenyan people that their popular will is well mediated by a well-facilitated commission. So I think for me, it's too early to speculate and say it's more or less. As technical people, let's examine the facts, and there are comparable data to look at, there are historical data to, even just projection. Then we will be able to get an answer.
Let me give you a minute each, given that we're winding up the topic. We need to pave way for another show. Let me start with you, Kimani.
Right. Budget of a nation is very important. What, as Kibosop is putting it rightly, is that we really need to communicate effectively to the people. We need to let people understand and get a breakdown. There is somebody who said, and this is where maybe we are getting it wrong, that we need to really itemize our budget. In this sense, these figures, these gross figures that we keep talking about, that our current expenditure is 800 billion, we need to break down these 800 billion so that we ask ourselves, what is our wage bill? Then we really need to interrogate these aspects on which we are spending our money. We ask ourselves the wage bill. What is the structure of our wage bill? The technical versus support ratio, have we met it? What is the output of our wage bill? Are we getting value for our money? Or are we having people lay about in public office and we are paying them expensively when we need to cut down on all this? When we talk of development expenditure, we need to go down, and so that if I want to know what the country is investing in, I can know there is the road from Isiolo to where was it? We need to that I can get somewhere and even tell the stretch we've covered so far, how much we spend on it. That will reduce this deficit we have of trust on the government, because it isn't necessarily that money is being stolen per se. It is more of an issue that people don't get to understand how this money is spent. And as Kimosop is putting it, the moment you stop communicating, then people start imagining things. And the moment that happens, that is when you hear people talk of being figures you know too well as an economist or as a finance expert, that it can't be stolen and we survive. Let me tell you for a fact, we can't steal a third of our budget and survive. That's a lie.
Because even from a personal perspective, if you're earning, if you're looking at you, if you're earning 500,000 and you're saying that I wish you good. So you have invited us.
You're spending 200.
Imagine that 200,000 is stolen off your budget. As in, you can see clearly that bullet, that bullet exit of your budget. We will see either through the house you stay in, or where even the things that you consume. I hope my minute has not started. I was just continuing to...
you have only 1 minute.
1 minute. One is, thanks for, when I was called yesterday to come for this show, I said it is an invitation to engage. I want to really ask, including those who are in key positions in government, to make more deliberate efforts to be able to communicate and engage the Kenyan people. We have a great country. I was looking at some of the things that Kenya is a first. I was looking at Kenya is a benchmark in many areas, and at times we don't get to talk about them because our focus at times is on what is not going right, which is of course being human. One of the ways that we engage and we contribute is by pointing out what is wrong. So I think we need to engage, we need to communicate more, we need to place our client who is a Kenyan person at the center and speak in a language that they are able to be relatable, they are able to connect. And the media space is also evolving. It is important that we do both offline and online engagement, so that then when Kenya succeeds, everybody succeeds.
Thank you so much. That is Vincent Kimosope, policy and governance specialist, also an economist. Thank you for joining us as well. Kimani Mwangi, a political analyst, also an economist. Gentlemen, thank you for making time for us this morning. Of course, it is a conversation that will continue for the better part of this week ahead of the budget reading that will be presented by Treasury Cabinet Secretary, that is John Buddy. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. We need to pave way for Kuruze Mashinani upcoming next with Sheila, so don't go too far. That conversation and that particular bulletin is up next. Good morning for now.
Pindi tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya Rwiga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji uliobobea katika habari,
nĩ ũndũ wa macio na mangĩ maingĩ,
burudani,
haha nĩ harĩa tũkoragwo tũkĩigua nyĩmbo mwaki nyĩmbo hoda
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma. Jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Shoro FM.
You must be Pamela, right?
It is Mrs. Kaikara to you.
Let me prepare something small for you.
Thank you. I'm well staffed. Hiyo itatupunguzia hasara.
You make a very good cook.
Najua hujakuja tu kunicongratulate.
These people are watching each and every move that you're making. Uchunge sana usisleep wewe.
Watu na maelewa. I forgot all about life. If life feels that way, then why did you live it? And that's one thing, Mwelewi. My life is my career.
I will summon my husband.
Let's talk outside.
What has brought you to Kenya? A wife needs to take good care of the hubby. Why did you have to come all the way? Mr. Kaikara sir here was